And here we are. We're in this video tonight. We're going to talk about the rules changes for this year and the postseason realignment. Shocker. Again, we've had realigned our postseason here in District 1. Just trying to find what works best. But let's just talk for a second, guys, about the rule
And we're going to
changes.
go right into our top 10 teams show. Don't forget that. This is a one-stop shop on this second video.
We're gonna go all in. I guess this is the
Oh
one
yeah,
everyone's
Nate and I
waiting for.
just
Then
decided that off camera.
get prepared. If you get ready to hit the pause button, you're gonna have to go get your popcorn ready for when we get into the nitty gritty part of it. But with that said, we kind of talked about it a little bit at the end of the last one, and we've all been out to matches so far this year. Glenn said it on our broadcast, like the age of the close match. We don't see them. We haven't been seeing them. I mean, it is a points fest all the way around. And while Glenn thought we were going to be only about 45 minutes last week, I ended up being a little bit longer, truth be told.
It was a full 2 hours, I think.
Just a little bit longer it went. But that was, we saw some entertaining matches where a lot of points were scored. We just had a lot of matches that ended up going to distance. But
yeah, you no longer cannot watch the start of a match. You have to watch the start of a match. I mean, the points that are scored in the first period, I've never seen it. I've never seen so many major decisions in tech balls in my life. The point system is amazing. Joe, why don't you just go over those point systems so everyone knows what's going on with the back points and the takedowns? Because those are your big rule changes.
Yeah, we've moved to the 3-point takedown, which drastically changes the strategy of matches. Because you can't just rely upon 2 escapes to tie the match and then work for a late takedown. Like it changes the whole the way that strategy is gone. You can't play that game anymore. You can't hold on for that close win like that. You have to open up a little bit more. So that first 3-point takedown is absolutely critical, especially you take down and do not give up an escape through the end of the period. Because then you're really at a disadvantage. But we have that, and then with the change to back points, now we have a full set of 4 back points as opposed to just the 3 set. So that's what we've been alluding to for those that have not been paying attention or did not know. You get a full set of back now. 5 count is 4 points instead of the old being 3. So you get a takedown and back, and it's a 6-0 match. Right out the gate, you go down in the second period, you escape at 7-0. Like you're in almost a major decision criteria, and you've blinked and you're halfway through the match, and it's that you're not even halfway through a match and you're already up 7 points. It's incredible.
And on the other side, Joe, you can be down big and come off the bottom and get neutral, get a takedown, and get 4 back points, and you've just scored 8 points. So it's amazing what can happen in a match. So it's almost like the officials have to be like they're in a like a midget tournament, like the youth tournament. You're like 3, 5, 4. I mean, you can't even keep track. But the tech balls, you're going to see more tech balls this year than ever, obviously, in the PIAA. So I find it very interesting to see if kids, kind of take advantage of that. I've noticed the better wrestlers are trying to slow it down a little bit with the takedowns because the catch and release can be, kind of really quick. So they're kind of changing their mindset, wrestling on the mat a little bit more too. So we'll see if that changes some matches for higher level kids that are, kind of in there. But we only saw like one match, one match going to overtime up at the Panther, and it was obviously the big guys, and they were dancing bears, no one to take any risks. But you're not going to see those 2-1 matches anymore. You're just not going to see them.
I think this rule change, obviously it's going to affect some dual meets, but I think you're really going to feel it in the postseason and those consolation brackets when you only have the 1 minute first period. It was always important to get that first takedown, but going down 3-0 in the first period of a consolation match, I mean that's going to be tough to recover from. Obviously, it's going to make for some exciting blood rounds, and I think that's where you're really going to feel it because the guys on their feet. If you have that advantage in the postseason, I mean you have the advantage of the consolation bracket. I think so. It'll be interesting, and I know Mike Leister's not busy enough already, but I think we need to get a section on the stat thing for first period technical falls this year because I think there's going to be some kids that are are trying to break some records out there. I mean, this is a
Yeah,
this is
we've
a rule
seen them.
change for Austin DeSanto. He's a few years too late, but it would have been. There's some
Yeah.
kids that will definitely be coming off the mat with 15-0 wins in about 68 seconds. So
Yeah, I've already seen a few of Bo Bassett's matches be over
yeah,
tech fall criteria in the first minute to 2 minutes of a match, and it just if you can score quick, this is
yep,
the scoring favors those wrestlers that can strike quick.
Yeah,
But
Joe, Nate, you brought up a good point, Nate, about that 1 minute period in the Conchi wrestlebacks. I mean, I didn't even think about that. That is huge. And
neither did
obviously,
I.
a takedown to the back for 7 points is just monster. So,
yeah.
yeah, and you do see it a lot. So
Well,
you're
you get a
right.
first
That
down
first
takedown,
period,
and then you don't even have to.
yeah,
You don't even really have. You can just stall your butt off for the next 4 minutes because reversals and
yeah.
all that won't add up.
Especially if you
So
can ride on top. If you can
yep,
ride and get 1 point off the bottom, I mean, you're kind of golden. So that's a good point to make about the consolations there. Guys wrestling back on that 1 minute period with that
yep,
first takedown. I think the only other major really rule that we talked about was, this when everyone's on the line wrestling, the clear, changes here when you're pinning a guy or you are wrestling on the edge. It's when the foot or the supporting point comes up off the mat I say over the line, but it's up off the mat when you're on that one supporting point on the line. And we just talked about this off camera a little bit about Rick Solowski saying you can't watch both as an official. So that's why those higher level matches you have two officials. They're going to have to keep an eye on that supporting point coming off the mat, because as soon as that point comes off the mat, the whistle's supposed to be blown. We've seen some critical things at the Boyertown duels. I saw it a couple times in some bigger matches with some higher level kids. So we have to keep an eye on that thing to see how they really kind of address that from a single ref standpoint. But I think when you see things down the road with two officials on the mat, it'll be pretty clear that when that supporting point comes off the mat and into the air, it's over. They'll blow the whistle.
I'm not going to make any comment about what they should be looking at because I'm not an official. I'm going to take the high road on that one per se. But Rich brings up a great point. Like they can't see all, and if you're trying to get in position to call the fall, and then you protest and be like, well, like what they're stuck between a rock and a hard spot. And that's a really tough thing for an official to be like, hey, well, I just didn't see it. That they're again. Not their fault. They're entrusted to make those calls, but it's really tough. You think back to, the one where was it Hunter Katka in the state semifinals a few years back? If it weren't for the
On the
second
line.
official, he would have never won that state title. He got taken down to his
I thought
back.
I thought he was pinned. I thought he was in trouble.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, and
he was pinned, but he was out of bounds.
yeah, I was gonna
Yep.
say, didn't they call the pin, and it was going to the second official, and it was played perfectly by the officials. That was asked for the opinion. He gave the opinion. They waved it off. They got back in the match. He wins the semifinal, goes on to win a state title. So, and Glenn, to your point, at the regional level, they're going to have two guys for all the important matches, two officials on the mat. I think it's super important. At the district level, they're going to have two guys in the finals, in the Conci semifinals, or Conci finals rather, in order to make sure those calls are made.
It's funny that you say that. The guy on the side's got to watch the clock too. So now you're looking at three things: maybe the clock, foot coming off the mat, where they are, with the back points and the pin. I mean, it's kind of there's a lot going on there, and that's why I just think the continuation stuff with collegiate wrestling, when you're takedowns and things out of bounds, it's just let it play out. But we need the mat space, and that is still the biggest discussion in the PIAA is our mat space. If we have enough mat space, you can move it, change these rules. But this will be a big year to see if mat space plays into some things in some of the what I would call the district and the regional level tournaments, because obviously at states we know how close that wall is. So you got to take a lot of factors in with these rule changes. But I think wrestling fans will get it rather quickly. Even an old man like me figured out. I'm still yelling 2 when it's 3, but we'll figure it out.
And then, Glenn, are you a 3 for a takedown, or are you 3? Like how? What's your?
I went over this with Lewis Baker.
Because it's easy just to throw the 2 up. Like which way you going?
Not with my broken fingers. We already went over that. Can't imagine how the free scout they give the old woo.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a lot of fun. I think the officials are really, kind of embracing the new rules changes too. So you got to be patient with them too. We had a couple officials say 2 when it was 3. So it's going to take time for some of those guys too.
Definitely. All right, well, let's talk postseason realignment. And
Mike's
Mike
got a
said put a
graphic
graphic
for
up,
this, doesn't he?
and so we go double A. District 1 teams will have their own tournament, not with District 12 as they have in the past. The top 3 per weight class advance to the Southeast Double A regional tournament, and the top 5 per weight class from there, from the Southeast regional, will go to states, whereas it used to be 6. PIAA has gone in a direction to kind of balance out those regions to a lot for more almost equal qualifiers for everyone. So where it went from having 6, which is is like the toughest Double A region, down to 5 qualifiers. So they lose a whole qualifier out of the Southeast region. So I don't know if you guys have anything you want to add to about the Double A.
I think that's unfortunate for the other teams other than Faith Christian.
Behind the scenes, Mike informed us that Southwest went from 7 to 6. So everyone, it seemed the larger regions did lost qualifiers as well. But if we move on to AAA, there's now 3 sections instead of 4. So each with 21 or 20 teams. And the top 6 per weight class advanced to the Southeast Regional, so to make an 18-man bracket. And there'll be 2 pigtail matches per weight class, and those pigtail losers, we go back to the format we had years back where those pigtail losers are out. They don't even get into the tournament. They're one and done. It's not double elimination for them. And then we have 5 advanced estates. There were some other movements throughout the state with other regions. There's some I guess districts that have a gripe of where they're going now, where I believe District 6 is now in the Southwest region. I believe Nate, you probably can correct me on that. Is they were all with the Northwest region, and that kind of got broken up into a lot for more qualifiers to balance out the teams. Like I said, I'm not here to criticize the PIAA, but I still really think that District 12 should be with us at the regional level. I think it's foolish for them to drive all the way up to Lehigh Valley to balance it out. Just geographically speaking, it just doesn't make sense. But I understand you're trying to balance regional tournaments. That's their ultimate plan. At least that's my interpretation of their moves. But some of them are definitely head scratchers. Where you're driving hours for your regional tournament, it just doesn't make sense. Not necessarily the District 12 guys, the other parts of the state.
I have 2 big takeaways from this. I mean, obviously the 3 sections for me is where we needed to be for a while here. I think we diluted that district championship piece too long. So obviously Mike got his district's name section. So these 3 sections are perfect. And we got 5 guys to states. I mean, we've been worried about this for a long time. So us keeping the 5 going up to states works for me. And I think the 3 sections is really a good balance. I mean, you can always argue a couple teams are in the wrong, section, but for the most part, we've done the best we can do geographically and balance of power, if you will. But really the big takeaways are, we're down to 3 sections, which is great. And we're still getting 5 guys to state. So that for me is really what it's all about here.
I just think it's fun to have the 3 sections, where a pigtail loser is eliminated on the first night on a Friday night. That just makes it a little bit more fun. There's going to be somebody that takes an upset or has an injury at sectionals and has to forfeit out and gets the 6th seed, and they're coming in trying to wrestle all their way back with elimination on the line. So that makes things a little bit more exciting for Friday night. And obviously having the 3 sections just to kind of stretch things out a little bit for the tougher sections and even things up for some of the weaker ones. So I think it's a good change, and I think it should add for some excitement this year.
No, I like to both your points. The elimination of a district tournament kind of gives us a better opportunity to get the best kids to regionals. By consolidating through consolidation or through subtraction, we're actually adding to the quality of the kids that are getting to the regional tournament. So it kind of limits it for some teams that were getting guys at regionals that, where there were guys that were maybe sitting home from other districts. Maybe that changes some. However, we're going to get the best guys to the regional tournament. The guy, that are going to fight it out to go to Hershey.
Yeah, there's only a couple teams that are really displaced because basically you have the old, District 1 South together with the Spur Run leagues all together. Again, you have to pack together, and obviously the Chessmont. So I think this is really where we needed to be. Nate, you were talking about those pigtail matches. Remember when there was those 2 fifth guys going at it to get into the 8-man bracket back in the day? That was amazing. The North and the South.
Yeah,
that was just phenomenal.
As long as we don't lose electricity at Souderton this year, it should be a fun Friday night.
Don't even say it.
Never
man.
happens.
Good weather here.
Never happens in Oxford. I'm just saying, but it's good.
Well, that's why it's a 2-year deal.
Well, Oxford has a great facility. Souderton's equally up to the task of hosting it. They do Souderton does a really nice job hosting.
I'm just teasing.
I know. You just want to stay close to home. It's very
Oxford,
self-serving.
It still takes me 45 minutes to get to Oxford. Nobody's close to Oxford except for Bill Rudick.
Oxford's not close to Oxford.
Yeah, exactly.
Oxford's closer to Maryland than Pennsylvania.
Souderton's just as close to Oxford as Oxford is, I think, for me. So no big deal for you.
Yeah, I know. For me, I'm in the middle. I think it's a little bit further for Oxford, maybe about an extra 10 minutes where I'm at in South Pottstown. But it is what it is. Like,
yeah. So I think the only other thing we can mention here about some of the changes, Mike, this just came out today that the team championships are going to be moved. So I believe that's active this year. Am I correct, or is that down the road?
Yes.
Altoona High School.
Yeah, so we're going to Altoona. Yes. We're going to Penn State Altoona's campus in the field house. Is that correct? For the team championships.
Yeah, I think it's Altoona High School.
Well, I won't be there. I'll be watching that from the Hershey Lodge on Flow. So that's how I'm going to cover that series. Unless we're there, we could be there. You never know.
Altoona High School.
Segue for your top 10 teams right there, right?
Mike, you could break radio silence, instead of texting us and just speak out if you'd like. I promise we won't be mad.
How to get Penn State in there?
Never fails. I think to bring light to that. No one wanted to host the state duels, unfortunately. That the Giant Center and Hershey didn't want to. So this is what happens, and you see it across the board. And in the spring sports, PIAA, everything's hosted at Penn State. It's absolutely amazing. I had an opportunity as a coach, O&J's girls lacrosse program to win a state title. We were treated like a college team on campus at Penn State. And that same weekend, look, boys and girls lacrosse, all games are played in their lacrosse stadium. Baseball hosts all classifications of baseball. Volleyball's there, softball's there. It's great. Now, you look at the fall sports, it's a little bit more sporadic. Like Cumberland Valley hosts soccer. I forget off the top of my head who hosts field hockey. I'm sorry, what's that?
Yeah, football's at Cumberland Valley as well.
Yeah, football as well. So like it's hard finding these larger venues and really are the people showing up for it. And if we're being fair, the attendance at the state duels just isn't, doesn't necessarily warrant going to Hershey, in some regards. It's an awesome experience because, as we've talked about before, for some kids, that's the only opportunity they're going to get to wrestle on that Hershey floor. And that's a pretty cool thing. So there's that taken away. But to kind of make light of it, a lot of posts today, for those who have been following it, everyone started posting pizza from Altoona with the melted yellow cheese on it. And they said we went from Hershey and chocolate to this. And I just kind of found humor. And I thought if you come across that, you'll know. There's something in Altoona.
Yeah.
I have no desire to try it. But pizza with yellow cheese on it, no, I'm out. I'm done. No thanks.
We had it. We had it on our way home. I chose sheets over the pizza. But I'll tell you what, like it does diminish the tournament, Joe. I mean, I feel like at least at Hershey, you still have that state, kind of appeal. You have the feel on the Hershey floor in the arena. You have that, just the drive into Hershey.
Credentials, the badge, all that stuff.
The whole thing. I really think they made a mistake here. I hope they're going to, draw enough money back in through, their broadcasting of it. But people are not traveling to Altoona to watch the state duels. I'm sorry, not from the East. They're not going to do it unless it's your team. You're not going to see fans, just wrestling fans, showing up there. So I think it's a problem that may be a 1 year problem. They may rectify it and get it back. I know they were talking about having it at the Bryce Jordan Center at Penn State, and State College is starting to bring in a lot of things again. Now the golf tournament, the golf state championships are back up there at State College. So we'll see what happens. But I think this is a 1 year anomaly in my mind. But if it isn't, then state duels are going to go kind of go away in my mind. I just don't think they can do that. I don't think they can have an event that doesn't have the same appeal that these duels have had in Hershey. I mean, it's very disappointing for old schoolers like me. It is.
All right. Well, I guess we put the rules and everything to bed, and we get to what everyone's really tuned in for. They want to see Glenn's top 10.
Actually, they want to see yours, Joe. They want to rip you first. Believe me.
Oh, who's going to contact my employer this year and complain about me? So, yep. Definitely won't be the first time someone contacts my employer, OJ Roberts School District, to complain about videos that we make. So let's do it. All right, here we are. We have the part of our season preview that a lot of people tune in for is our top 10 teams. I think it was unanimous across the board. To be honest, I sent my 10 in to Mike, and he's like, hey, just an FYI, you forgot Faith. And not that I forgot Faith. They're kind of in a class of their own. Not because of AA, they're just in a class of their own. Even if they were AAA school. Yeah, right. Like, and again, no disrespect to Faith. It wasn't by any other reason. And it's like, I wasn't even thinking about them because it was a no-brainer. And we all talked today off camera. We talked via text. This is the most parity I think we've had in years. And you can see in our rankings, usually we're all pretty much on the same page. And this year we're not. I guess, guys, if you don't mind, I'll go first, and you guys feel free to dispute anything. But obviously, Faith Christian, we talked about them already with the amount of state medalists they have coming back. There's some young talent coming up with Young and Bachman. They're loaded. They stay healthy. They win in their state title. I think convincingly again. Maybe sets another record. It's just they have 8 returning state medalists. They could have upwards of 10 when it's all said and done. Maybe more. Who knows? Just they're just a juggernaut in that AA. They'd be a juggernaut anywhere in the state of Pennsylvania. I don't want to go on record saying that as well. They'd be the number 1 team in the state AAA, hands down. After I go Boyertown, I think Boyertown's the most complete team in District 1. I fully expect Tony Haley to call me or text me and tell me that I don't know what I'm talking about. But they just got guys, and they're really deep as well. They just got guys that can wrestle. Now, you might say they lack star power, and I won't disagree with that statement, but they are good. They got guys at every weight class that can go out and wrestle and hold their own. Maybe not a world beater, but you don't need that. You have the amount of talent they have across the board. It doesn't matter. I believe they are the best dual meet team and maybe the best tournament team in District 1. Just because they just have guys that are just going to be there. They're going to take a ton of guys to regionals. They're going to have a ton of guys that make it to that second day. They're going to have guys that are going to states. They might not have a regional champ, but they're going to have a bunch of guys go to states. They might not have a state medalist, but they're going to have a bunch of guys there.
Yeah, let me jump in here because I have Boyertown, obviously the clear number 1 AAA team. And again, we're talking about dual meet teams, not tournament teams here. So we wrestled Boyertown, and I thought we were very competitive in the match. We wrestled everybody as hard as we could. But you are right, Joe. Boyertown can wrestle from top to bottom, and that's impressive in the fact that they also have some depth, which is kind of scary. And then their guys are spread out. Their strength is spread out throughout the lineup. So they're a tough out for any top level team. They do not have the star power. And even some of their big guns can lose, and Boyertown can still win a big dual meet. So they are dangerous. For me, until somebody beats them here in District 1, they're the top team in AAA for me.
Nate, you have it see it a little bit different. You care to chime in?
Yeah, obviously, just it's impossible to make these rankings in December, right? But I think kept by the time we roll around end of January, early February, Council Rock South just always seems to be peaking at the right time. This year they have some really good star power, and I think some of those younger guys, the lightweights, always seem to develop well and battle in those tough matches. But I think maybe just a little bit extra star power from the Golden Hawks, just Mutarelli and Cole and Brillhart and those guys. Just being able to pick up bonus points in those dual meets is huge, and I think they have the guys that have the talent to do that. So maybe that just separates them a little bit. But obviously, yeah, Boyertown, very tough, very solid, and you have to wrestle perfect against them because they're not going to make too many mistakes.
So I'm how about this? Well, I'll go my 3, 4, 5, and then you guys do same, and we'll just start picking them off as we go. So I got Sun Valley at 3. I think they're the next most complete team right now. Again, it's subject to change. But at this moment, I think coming into the season, we're ready to go from day one. I don't know how many more moves they're going to make based upon the 2 pound allowance that's coming up in a couple days. But I just think that everything that, like, from what was told to me by Tommy Ellis, like, this is his best team. And then you couple in the fact of what happens, and I think they're gonna wrestle at a high level all year, because that's gonna be in the back of their mind at all times. They're out there for them. He's with them as they go on the mat, and they're gonna wrestle in a manner that's gonna honor him. So right now, I got them at 3. I got Rock South at 4, but I'm also going to echo the same sentiment that you had, Nate. That's just where they're at right now. Like, this could change. This could change come February. But right now, that's where I see Council Rock South at. They're not quite there yet. They have some, like, like, again, some household names, another writer. But they have some younger guys that are gonna, in the process of figuring it out, going through some growing pains, getting onto the high school level. But that program just pumps out talent. Like, they're gonna figure it out, and they're gonna be put through the ringer throughout the regular season too, with that schedule that they wrestle. You look at the first 3 teams that I listed in AAA: Boyertown, Sun Valley, Council Rock South. Now, Sun Valley was a team in the past that we also came into question their schedule. Their schedule's not what it was. They're out there wrestling tough teams. They're going to tough tournaments. Like, they're challenging themselves. That this was what they were building towards. And then I got Quakertown
Yeah,
at
I
5.
mean,
Now, I didn't. Oh, let me just finish
yeah,
here.
hold off on your number 5 there, because I think I'm going to jump in here with you about the Council Rock South thing, and the only reason I have Council Rock South below Council Rock North right now, Council Rock North team is a better dual meet team than Council Rock South right now. We don't know what Council Rock South's real lineup looks like, what they're going to look like at the end come February when we're competing in the team championships. But right now, Council Rock North is a better dual meet team. They may even be a better tournament team. We got to wrestle them. We wrestled Boyertown, Council Rock North, and Penridge and Pennsbury were also at the Bear Duels. It just shows you that the Bear Duels kind of is like a kind of early season barometer for where dual meet teams are. So right now, I'm going based on what I'm seeing. The eye test. Council Rock North is passing the eye test over Council Rock South. So that's my top 4 right there. Obviously, Faith Christian. I know we're going to go to the next level, but I'll do my 5th team, and then Nate obviously can go up to his 4 because Sun Valley's in there. You already talked about Sun Valley. Sun Valley for me. They are in that top 5 this year for real. They're legit, but they have not performed at the next level to team championships. They don't have that volume. They're not cranking it up in the team championships and District 1 duels, and that's their problem. They have not made it to the state championships because of that. So, like you said, they are. Tommy said this is probably the best team he's had to you, Joe. We know that they're wrestling for him. So this could be their year. I mean, they have a great opportunity, and what I see is a top 5 grouping of, like, it's the most parity we've ever seen here in District 1 for our top 5. I mean, I know someone was joking. I don't know if it was Joe. I think it was you, Joe. That we're gonna have to, like, list the top 10 for the top 5 in the meeting when we start our seating, because really, after. Like I said, I don't even know if Boyertown is the true number 1 sitting here today. So a lot of work to be done, a lot of wrestling before this list kind of solidifies.
Is it
Nate,
my turn
you
now?
want to?
I
Yeah,
guess.
you talk about your 4 and 5. I'll come back. I'll do my 5, and I'll go into my 6.
All right. Yeah, I think, like you said, Sun Valley just poised to make a statement this year. I think they maybe have a little bit more talent. I do like Oxford. I think Oxford Sun Valley when they wrestle this year in the league meet, I think that'll be an interesting go. Obviously, last year Oxford just brutalized by injuries, so they haven't really been able to kind of put that team out there that they have this year. Obviously Hostetter Smith are the stars. I think they have some other kids that kind of on the rise. Chase McKinney, I think he'll be in the mix at 285 this year, just in the district, and
Sam
they have
Howell, Scheibel. Yeah, they got
yeah.
guys.
You got the Scheibels in there. You just got a bunch of kids that maybe they're not going to win every match, but they've been around for a while. Dylan Hefner. They just have kids that are there, and I think they'll be battle tested. They're going to Beast this week, so they up their ante a little bit with the schedule this year. It will be interesting to see how they do, in that environment because they haven't been there before. Talking about the Council Rocks, obviously Council Rock North, I have under Oxford, but in Rock North has been in that spot many a time, so that could be a deciding factor when it comes down to it. But it'll be interesting to see how those Chesmont teams who don't normally fare well in the district duels how they pan out. But I definitely think there's the talent to make a run this year.
All right, so my 5. Well, I'm gonna go back. Just gonna go back to Sun Valley for a second. Like, who would have thought I would have had Sun Valley as the of the three of us the highest ranked? And of course, I thought Nate would have because of his affection for the Chessmont. But Sun Valley, stand up! Remember this. I had you guys there. On January. Or, I'm sorry, December 19th. So my 5 is Quakertown, and we had the privilege of seeing some results. To be honest, I didn't have Quakertown there, before yesterday, but they had a good result against Penridge, and so that's why they're at my 5 right now. Their resume in the past speaks for itself. A program that churns out talent, a program that gets better as the year goes on. And they got some young guys now after losing some talent off of last year's team. I think they got 3 guys that are wrestling Division One right now for last year's team. Ziegler, Lockman. Lockman just wrestled Greg Kirkfleet in the Penn State Lehigh duel, and Ike Williams. I believe Clarion maybe is wrestling. So there's 3 guys and that were standouts for them. Not to mention other guys that they lost out of their lineup. And to be honest, now they got guys that are finally wrestling at their own weight class, and because they don't have anyone better than them above them, that they were kind of moving around. So there's guys that have been in that room that have been waiting their turn to get out. So I think Quakertown's only going to get better. So I have them as my number 5. And then Oxford, and for a lot of reasons Nate has, like they got a solid team for them. And since I'm gonna go one more, not for any other reason that you guys already both talked about Council Rock North. I'll tell you why I have North as low as they are. I think North has a ton of potential. They have the star power that like some other teams don't. What they need is those guys that aren't the Canes, the Sements, the Loss, that to really come out and start to raise their game. And again, Rock North, very well coached program, has been churning out guys. Just in the past, they've been more of a tournament team. If this was a tournament rankings, I'd have them much higher because they're gonna put guys in the podium at districts, they're gonna put guys in the podium at regionals, and they're gonna put guys in the podium at states. So that's why they're this low, because not that I don't believe in them, I just need to see more from them before I anoint them a higher ranked team here in District 1 from a dual meet perspective.
Yeah, I'm going to say you both have them ranked way too low. That's just my personal opinion, but I think the
That's just
facts.
Suburban 1
Uh,
bias.
no, I think the facts are out there. I mean, you got to look at the results, the early results here, and kudos to Mike for letting us make our changes because I also had Quakertown lower, but after that big win last night over Penridge, it was kind of convincing. I think Quakertown actually is similar to Boyertown in the fact that they can actually load 13 weight classes with no problem. There's always that next man up mentality. They can put what I call an average wrestler out on the mat and get a win over anybody else's average wrestler. So they're always dangerous. That's why I have them in the 6 hole. I bounce them up and I move Penridge down to the 8 hole. And it looks like we all kind of agreed on that. I think Nate did not change his, but maybe he did. But Penridge is right down there at 8 for all of us. Oxford is just kind of a question mark for me. Like Nate said, like we're not really sure what they're going to look like, but they look really darn good early out of the season against Council Rock South in a dual meet. They have experience, they have grit, and they have the support of the wrestling community there in Oxford, which is something that goes a long way. So the program is up and coming. And they certainly are going to make their mark this year in the District 1 team championship. So I look forward to seeing them, compete. I'm sure they're going to be in an Elite 8 team. So that's where I have Oxford right now at 7, just below Quakertown because of the experience.
Nate, you want to chime in on, Rock North, Quakertowns, or Penridge? Anything that hasn't already been said?
Yeah, I think a lot of the same. Just those teams, like you said. The stars. They all three of those teams have star power. It's just about the other guys, learning. Obviously, Quakertown has had a lot of graduations the last few years. Same with Penridge. So we're going to know some names and faces, and just don't know them yet. So it's hard to totally gauge in December. But trusting that those programs always get better by the end of January, early February. You just assume Quakertown and Penridge will be right there in the mix, and obviously Council Rock South or North. Like you said, a lot of star power. It'll be interesting to see how the other guys develop.
I had Penridge 8. Again, having the privilege of seeing the result from last night and making a change. But they're gonna feel the effects of not having Town at a dual meet team, not having the effects of Town Hogan, Ryan Rowe, not being out for them. Those are two guys in the upper weights that really, like, if those two guys are in their lineup, we're talking about them being a top 4 team again, just because of the impact those guys make. So it's unfortunate we're not going to potentially not see them this year. We're not going to see
Just to
Town Hogan.
mention about Rowe. I think Rowe's kind of focusing on football a little bit there. So it is unfortunate for Penridge that they're going to miss 2 of their upper weight guys that have been really successful in dual meets. And I don't know if they have that type of talent to fill out for Hogan and for Rowe. So that hurts them, and I think we all have them in the right spot there.
Right. They're still going to be tough. They're going to be a tough out because they can put guys out. They can score points with their really good kids, and they really don't put any bad kids out in their lineup. They just find guys like average guys, and they find a way to make average guys better. Like a lot of the better programs in District 1, they find ways to make their guys better as the season goes on. And it's kind of hard not to because of the competition in that wrestling room and the competition of their schedule. So I'm going to round out my 9 and 10. And it's funny, our 9 and 10s, with the exception of Pennsbury, is the only one that falls into it. Now, I'll say when I forgot Faith Christian, I had Hatboro as my 10. So I want to be, I just think that they're a pretty well-rounded team. They're definitely on the up. Kudos to that program. Turn things in the right direction. I got Kennett at 9. I like their high-end talent. They have enough guys to fill out the lineup. Again, Kennett, to be fair, they're a better tournament team than there will be a dual meet team, because they're going to, again, put guys on the podium at the district level. They're going to put guys on the podium at the regional level. And, hopefully they get some more guys on the podium at the state level this year. A lot of guys poised that have been around, or they've become somewhat household names here in District 1. And I hope that they put it together and represent at Hershey. And then call me what you will. I got O&J at 10. A healthy O&J team is a pretty good O&J team. Right now, they're pretty banged up. You could have had them anywhere between 8 and 10. The team they are right now is probably not 10 because of some injuries they got going on. But once they're healthy and we hit the second half, into January and whatnot, we will see that team, make a little bit of noise. They're not. They got some top end talent. They got some guys that just go out and grind, which is like the kind of the MO for a lot of these teams that we have at 9 and 10. They have teams with guys that can really go out and score points, and they're going to finish high in tournaments. And they got guys that are just going to go out and wrestle hard for the 6 minutes and score some points. I think if we close our eyes and think about, listen to what's said, you could put it on any one of these six or these five teams that we have listed of our bottom, not our bottom, but our 9 and 10. So, Glenn, I see
Yeah, I agree.
you're going to finish off talking about 6 of 10 suburban one schools in your top 10.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, Joe, that this lower group, and I think Nate agreed too, that on any given day, I think these teams can win. I believe Pennsbury lost to Avon Grove. Is that correct?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, and then Pennsbury, kind of handled some other teams, rather easily. I mean, they nipped us in a close one, and but even the Chamonix dangerous. I mean, I had Downingtown West under consideration. Kennett was obviously my 11, and again, I kind of feel the same way with you do, Nate and Joe. That they just don't have that full rounded dual meet team. I think they're a better tournament team than dual meet team, but I considered all three of those teams. I did really not consider Downingtown West as a top 10 team, but I think you have to consider them with their star power too. But Springford and O&J for me, not on my list. It's kind of the first time probably in a long, long time, as long as we've been doing this, that they're not
Eight
on
years.
this list. And I just don't think they're good dual meet teams. And I don't think Owen J. Roberts is that good of a dual meet team either. I think they have some really big star power. Obviously, with Bechtel not in the lineup, that does give them 6 points more in a dual meet. But they've been handled rather easily by a lot of teams already this year. So they have some work to do as a dual meet team, but definitely have them higher ranked as a tournament team. And I already talked about Kennett. Pennsbury, like I said, they're dangerous. They're just dangerous. They have a ton of guys in the room. They're all the same guy. Obviously they have a couple bigger names. Not a lot of star power, but they can go with just about anybody. And then Pennsbury's been, to the Elite Eight a lot lately, and I think people just don't pay attention to them. They need to. And then, of course, Happer Horsham, like you said, Joe, we're kind of up and coming. We have a lot of a young talent, obviously with Morrison as a state champ. I think that just kind of breeds success for the rest of the team. I think this is the first year where we kind of have a solid team with 13 guys. We're not forfeiting weight classes, and we have wrestlers, and we have a lot of returning regional guys that probably won't be. All of them might not return to regionals with the new format because we are in that, that district that I feel is the strongest district with the Council Rocks, Penn Ridge. I just feel like that's the stronger district. So we're going to have a harder time getting all the individual guys out. We're a pretty good tournament team as well. And we're going to be dangerous. We don't know what it looks like for us. I mean, obviously in our league, we're only wrestling 5 matches. And we had the Boyertown duels, and we get the Whippet duels at the end of the season. So really, our matchup with Quakertown will be kind of a deciding factor if we really are a top 10 or a top 8 team right there, because that's the only time we'll be tested after these Boyertown duels.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, I could have stopped my list at 8. It would have been perfectly fine. Just trying to find 9 and 10. You look at a team like Perk Valley, but they lost to Souderton. You look at Souderton's schedule, they lost to Happer. You look at Happer, they lost to Pennsbury. You look at Pennsbury, they lost to Avon Grove. Avon Grove lost to Great Valley. Everybody's got a decent win. Everybody's got a decent loss. I just went with old reliable Springford. Figure there's got to be a second team from the pack, and maybe the Rams will get there. Maybe not. I have no idea, to be honest. But yeah, it's just a lot of. You talk about the parity, maybe not up top, but at the bottom of from 9 to 16 in the bracket for district duels this year, there's going to be a lot of teams that maybe making their case to get in. Obviously, like you guys have talked about, Kennett probably has 4 kids that'll make states, but I just don't think they have enough around that to make a run. Downtown West, the same thing, probably 4 kids in the mix at regionals, maybe 5, depending on how things shake out. I do think Avon Grove will be a tough team by the end of the year, maybe to contend, to get a spot in the top 16. But obviously, last night's loss against Great Valley, one of those blips on the growing pains of an up and coming program. But having a win over Pennsbury, it looks good on the resume. Like you said, Glenn, Pennsbury always seems to be in the mix to get to that second weekend of district duels. They seem to do a good job, and they didn't have Walker Murray for that match against Avon Grove either. So I'm not sure if that changes things, but yeah, I mean, flip a coin for 9, 10, 11 through 16. It'll be interesting to see who shakes out, but I mean, your guess is as good as mine at that point.
No, I agree, and you both brought up teams like you think like you look at this 9 through 16. Some other teams like PV's up there. They have talent across the board. They have some high level talent, and again, just guys that can go out and wrestle. Uh, Garnet Valley always seems to find a way into the top 16. Downtown East has a pretty solid team. That, again, not a lot of star power, but they got a solid team. You already mentioned Avon Grove, Pennsbury, and Neshaminy. Those teams like Glenn kind of said that they're kind of household names because they've been there, but like not everyone wants to talk about them. And both Pennsbury and Neshaminy, like they are very, very similar, and just teams that just come out and they're in your face. They wrestle hard. They're gonna make your night miserable. And Pennsbury last year, like they took O&J to the heavyweight match. And that's what it took to get the to Upper Dublin. Um, so Pennsbury's, like Glenn said, Pennsbury's been there, and they just got they find guys. They find guys that come out and scrap, and that makes for like great dual meets. We watched the PW North Penn match the other day, and again, two teams that just put guys out that just went out and wrestled hard, and that's all you can ask for. Just go watch some good wrestling wherever you're at in dual meets, and we're gonna be out. Speaking of like going out and watching matches, we're gonna be out covering matches and trying to get as many of these teams on video and film and highlight the great things they're doing. I'll say, you look at the Central League. We didn't talk a little about a lot of Central League teams. Maybe you see Radnor's like got some talented guys. Conestoga has some talented guys. Of course, Garden Valley's kind of like the household name. Upper Darby's got a few talented guys. So like the Central League doesn't have like a team like that's going to come in and knock your socks off, but they got a lot of solid teams, which is better than probably where they were probably 5-6 years ago. I think there's more parity in that league than any other league, and maybe they have one team get into district duels, but those Central League matches are gonna be really competitive this year.
I see him last night, Haverford, knocking off Garnet Valley. Good win for them. Garnet Valley without Paxton Hunt, but I think Garnet Valley just starting to get some of their kids back from a long football season. A lot of their wrestlers play football and do multiple sports. I'm not sure what was up with Hunt being out of the lineup the other night, but I think they're one of those teams. I don't know if they have enough depth along the lineup to make district duels or to make any run there. But they're always one of those teams you don't really want to see come district duels if they do make it, because they always seem to rise to the occasion. But I mean, it's an interesting year in the Central League. Strathaven got some kids, but nobody really has that full lineup in the Central League.
As we look down the road at this season, we are going to have that parity that we really haven't seen in years past. I mean, just evident on who we're picking. I mean, we're a bunch of nobodies, but like just who we're getting on camera and putting our picks out there. You see how close some teams are, and Nate hit the nail on the head. If we stopped at 8 would have been easy. Those last two were. It was like you could throw a dart at a dartboard. You could have, if we had honorable mention, I bet we'd have all the same teams in the honorable mention. If they weren't our 9 and 10, they were our next ones. And if we put 4 more, we
Let's
have
not
the same
kid
teams.
ourselves. It's painful every year for the 9 and 10 spot. Let's not kid ourselves. O&J and Happy Horse, I'm always sneak on there. Nate gets somebody in there. So I was saying earlier that
I love Kenneth, but that's not me voting for him.
No, I know. But the matchups are so key in dual meets, especially earlier season when you don't get your top lineup in. You have guys out, guys making your way back in that aren't healthy. So all these teams that we're just talking about right now, they're going to change. Perk Valley, all of a sudden they could be back in the mix too. That's another team that I didn't mention, and Joe, you did, and so did you, Nate. So like there's teams that kind of can sneak up later, and they'll beat teams. But I kind of agree with what Nate said. Like look at all these, Neshaminy, they can beat you too. And we kind of handled Neshaminy rather easily, and I don't. I didn't see. I was looking at all those results. I'm like, how did that happen? And really, it's matchups, and it's right now it's early season matchups. So these teams are all going to evolve, and they're either going to stay healthy and get better, or they're going to have kind of blips in the radar and not be as good as they are here at the start of the season. So I look forward to a great District One, excursion here all year long. I mean, I can't wait for regionals already, but this team championship is going to be one of the more interesting ones that we've seen in a long time. Besides Faith Christian, obviously they're going to walk, right to her, where are they walking to? Altoona. So we'll
the
see how
train.
that goes. But anyway, I'm really looking forward to it, and PAWrestling.com covers it the best.
All right, folks. Thanks as always for tuning in. Glenn, thanks for being here. Nate, thanks for taking some time out of your evening. Obviously, Mike, thanks for putting this all together and setting it up and being the engine that makes it all go for us. We're looking forward to getting out. If you throw it on the forum, send us an email. If there's a match you want us to come out and cover, we'll do our best. We can't make any promises, but if you know us, to shoot us a text, shoot any one of us a text. We all talk almost daily now that the season started. Just shooting things back and forth, things that come up. So we want to try and get out and try and make, possible see some new teams this year, maybe ones that we didn't get to cover in years past. It's not always about the Council Rocks and the Boyer Towns, but we do always try to get the best matches as well. So it was really nice to get out to PW. I think it was our second time out there and get to see North Penn, which had been 5 years since we covered a North Penn match. That came up in my memories, on social media, that just recently, it was 5 years ago, like last week we were at North Penn for a match. So, we want to come out and see, and showcase the best and brightest we have here in District 1.
Got to make it to Delco this year. Delco, Oxford, Sun Valley, Oxford, at the end of January. Get down to Delco, baby.
And Conestoga.
Well, wait to see if Conestoga will let us come there. That's a big
Delco. Yeah.
So,
all right, guys,
yes, Sun Valley. I might have to catch a flight down to Aston. Let's see what the airfare is to get down there.
Aston's beautiful this time of year, so yeah, come on
Beautiful
down.
all year. Nate,
all year. Absolutely.
So we got Glenn yawning. It's past his bedtime. We're gonna cut it off here, gang.
Nah, it's not 10 o'clock yet. I'm all right.
As always, like I said earlier, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for supporting what we do. It's what makes it all worthwhile. So, thanks for everything, guys. Again, thank you for being on and joining me tonight. I really appreciate it. I know the fans do as well. Everyone take it easy, and we'll see you on the mats.